Our fascination with space knows no bounds. What lies in the deep beyond has intrigued humans for ages, and now, with advanced technology and adequate funding, we are able to answer just a few of those questions. The key here is funding, and there's good news for the space tech sector of Leicester in the United Kingdom. It's getting millions of pounds in funding. Let's take a closer look at that story. First up, the sector is getting a whopping £19.4 million in government funding. A government investment plan has been unveiled to support the development of Leicester City's space and satellite tech sectors. The Exchequer Secretary to the Treasury visited the city for the announcement. The funding is a part of the Leveling Up Fund. It's a government scheme that's going to support industries and infrastructure across the less represented regions in the United Kingdom. Just the first round of the fund is worth about $1.7 billion. The Exchequer Secretary Felicity Buchan took a tour of Leicester's Pioneer Park. She was briefed on how the planned investment will go towards supporting research and development, as well as advanced manufacturing within the city's space tech sector. She was optimistic about how the investment will speed up growth in Leicester's already expanding space sector. This will, hopefully, encourage innovative businesses to expand and grow in the city, and eventually create high-skilled jobs. The funding in Leicester is part of the brand new Investment Zones initiative. Hopefully, this will ignite growth and drive the British economy further, and most importantly, create more and better opportunities for everyone. Let's take a look at what this fund is really about. So this Leveling Up Fund is worth a total of almost £5 billion, and it's going to be geared toward regeneration projects across the United Kingdom. The money will go into projects such as improving railways, rolling out the next generation of gigabit broadband internet, and moving even more government functions and civil servants out of London. Essentially, the projects will be aimed at boosting productivity, creating better paying jobs, and improving living standards by growing the private sector, and especially in areas of the country that need it the most. The fund will also aim at spreading opportunities more equally and improving the provision of public services, and even work towards restoring a sense of community, pride, and belonging. This is particularly true in those places where they have been lost. The initiative will also empower local leaders and communities. The investment into the Leicester space tech sector is part of one of the specially selected 10 areas in the East Midlands area. It will receive a share of the total of more than £200 million set aside for the county, and this is just in the first round of the Leveling Up Fund. More announcements about fund allocation from the government are probably around the corner. There will probably be more money headed towards the sector, given just how important it is, not just to the community, but also to space tech as an industry. And it fits right into what the Leveling Up Fund aims to do. Up next, Leicester is the nation's space city. Now, for those of us who didn't know this, the East Midlands city of Leicester is the UK's foremost space city, and is home to many space tech related projects and research as well. It is home to the iconic National Space Center. This is a museum and educational resource that covers the fields of space science and astronomy. They also have a space research program in collaboration with the University of Leicester. Researchers at the university have a long and prestigious record of discovery in the field of space science. Their academic work includes X-ray and observational astronomy, instrumentation development, radio and plasma physics, space weather, and planetary science. And there are two other universities as well that are at the forefront of space research, including Loughborough University and De Montfort University. The area also has a cluster of space tech companies. The space park alone is worth more than £100 million. It's a community made up of industry, academics, and students working together to create synergy and growth in space and space-enabled sectors. They're leaders in world-class research and innovation, and they even offer educational development opportunities in a wide range of skills. The space tech sector in the city employs some 29,000 people, 200 highly qualified academics, and another 20,000 students working towards a future in the sector. Ever since 1967, there has been an instrument made here up in space. Lastly, let's take a look at the UK space program. It's pretty obvious that this place is the backbone of contemporary Great Britain's space program. But the first official British space program began back in 1952. By 1959, the first satellite program was started. It was the Ariel series of British satellites, built in the United States and the UK. They were launched using American rockets rockets. The first British satellite, Ariel 1, was launched 10 years later in 1962. The British space program has always emphasized uncrewed space research and commercial initiatives. It's never really been a part of the government policy to create a British astronaut corps. In fact, the British government did not even provide funding for the International Space Station until 2011. This explains why only there have been 10 Britons in space so far, and also why there is so much focus on developing the space tech industry alternatively. It simply makes more economic sense to do so, instead of going with expensive manned missions. This came after the official launch of the UK Space Agency, replacing the British National Space Centre in 2010. Now, let's look at some other news from the world of space tech. First up, AST Space Mobile is looking for funds to accelerate the constellation. This comes 18 months after getting close to $417 million through its initial public offering, but clearly that wasn't enough. The company is falling behind on key regulatory deadlines and is now seeking more money to speed up its direct-to-smartphone constellation. The space tech company based in Texas announced last week that it had successfully deployed the Blue Walker 3 64 square meter antenna, making it the largest commercial one in low Earth orbit. Despite having accomplished this massive feat, the Blue Walker 3 prototype satellite is set to miss the 22nd November deadline for securing frequencies that were provisionally assigned to the constellation. They have asked international regulators for another 18 months to give the satellite more time to climb to around 700 kilometers above the Earth in order to lock in rights to the spectrum. This will be used by its future satellites to bring 5G to smartphones outside cellular coverage. The United Nations affiliate responsible for managing spectrum rights for satellites, the International Telecommunication Union, said that it needs more information about the issue before it can reach a decision on extending the deadline to March of 2023. And that's exactly what the company needs more money for, to speed up their work to meet the deadline. Up next, Japan has extended its participation in the International Space Station. The country's government has formally agreed to extend its participation all the way through to the year 2030 and also provide components for the Lunar Gateway. A virtual ceremony was held on the 17th of November where officials from NASA and the Japanese government signed the agreement. The island nation will provide components for several modules and a cargo resupply for the Gateway. In return, NASA will send a Japanese astronaut to the Gateway on an Artemis mission next year. What's more is that Japan's Minister of Education, Culture, Sports, Science and Technology, Keiko Nagaoka, said that his government had confirmed its intent to participate in the International Space Station until 2030. They will be joining the United States in extending ISS operations beyond the year 2024. This agreement is an update to the one announced in January of 2021. The Japanese Space Agency, JAXA, will provide the life support system, camera, and batteries for the International Habitation Module and thermal controls as well. Lastly, the X-37B spaceplane has landed after 30 months in orbit. The X-37B Orbital Test Vehicle 6 was carrying a few United States military and NASA science experiments. It finally landed at the Kennedy Space Center after staying in orbit for 30 months. It set a new endurance record after 908 days in orbit, its own previous record for 780 days. It was launched back in 2020 on a United Launch Alliance Atlas V rocket. This was the 6th mission of the crewless space plane that's reusable too. It is built by Boeing, and it was being operated by the United States Space Force and Air Force Rapid Capabilities Office. On this particular mission, the X-37B carried out several U.S. military and NASA science experiments, including a naval research laboratory project, which was actually doing a pretty cool project. It captured sunlight to convert it into direct current electrical energy and the U.S. Air Force Academy's Falcon Sat-8, which remains in orbit to date. Imagine if we could harness the power of the sun to generate power even more efficiently than we are doing now. It would be worth all the billions of dollars being put into space tech. That's a wrap for this video. Have you visited the Leicester Space Park? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.